Introducing the popular novel titles, so this time I'll introduce the lineup of the new light novels that will be released until October 1st in one video. I'll pick out my favorite light novels and introduce them in a detail, so please use this as a reference for purchasing them. Let's get started right away. First, I'll introduce the works that is currently on sale on October 25th. First, this is Gimai Seikatsu Volume 12. This is also a new title to watch out for. The anime was broadcast in the summer season. A new volume was released before the anime aired, but it was released even after it finished, so it seems like they are planning their sightseeing schedule with a lot of care. As for the anime, the production side was very elaborate and some challenging images, which was good. With such careful anime, I think fans of the series will be very satisfied. In the latest volume, the vacation trip alone between the two is featured, so it doesn't seem like the relationship between the two will progress any further. It seems like it's going to be a hot spring trip, so there is some delicate romance. The time was then spent as lovers by spending their time of togetherness on holidays, vacation trips as they bond together. Yes, this is a pure love story that builds up relationship very carefully, so it will be interesting to see how the relationship changes in the latest volume. If you're interested in the main characters in the anime, please take this opportunity to read the original work.
Next, the Demon Sword Master of Excalibur Academy Volume 16 Final Volume. This is also the title to look out for. The anime was aired in 2023 of October last year by Studio Passion. It is a battle fantasy in which the Demon King, who is reincarnated in the future as a child, challenges the mysteries of the world and powerful targets together with the heroes. This latest volume is the final volume of the series, so the story will reach its climax. In the final chapter, Villainous defeated the Sword Saint who had become a gate of nothingness, but at that moment, the god of nothingness begins to awaken within the gates that were supposed to have been destroyed. Roselia entrusts the fate of the world to Leonis and uses the last of his power. Even so, there have been a lot of popular series that have been made into anime recently, so perhaps it is a time for a generational change. The final chapter is a bit sad, but the series fans should enjoy it to the fullest. Also, the art books of Asagi Tosaka's The Demon Sword Master of Excalibur Academy will also be released on the same date. It contains all the illustrations from the first volume to the final, so series fans, make sure to pre-order it as well. Reincarnated in the world of a Yuri game as a man who got sandwiched by Yuri Volume 6. This is also a featured title in Bunko J. It's a school battle love comedy as a genre, so it is like a royal genre. In the latest issue, the preparatory battle was burned in the previous volume, and the 3 battles were started in earnest, so it seems like that will be a solid battle development. I think it's a series that will become even more popular in the future, so please check it out if you're interested. A Girl Who Can Say I Love You Properly Volume 1. This is a new title that is being talked about in Bunko J. It's a 4-way love triangle to be precise, something that it was quite new in the romance story genre. The story follows 4 girls, each have potential to win the protagonist's hearts over. The characters are Amane Amakasaki, the school idol only wants to be pampered when they are alone. Shiragiko Hakuwa, even though she was disowned by her family, for some reason her ex-fiancé won't leave her alone. Haruka Suga, the school angel, but the devil next to her ex-president Easy. But the one that stands out the most is Nanase Nanao, a seemingly ordinary transfer student, but a naturally gifted main heroine. Nevertheless, it seems to be a rather unusual love story where you have to please the protagonist and win his heart over. It's like a certain love comedy manga story, but the love was scattered around here and there. I make that promise again with you who is about to break down Volume 1. It feels a bit like a sad youth-like novel. It's a cohabitation story about a childhood friend who's become estranged and lives under the same roof. It's a detailed story about 2 people who seem close but are distant, but they get closer despite the differences. It's a fun story.
Although romance is prohibited in this shared house, she looks like she's waiting for a confession. The first volume of Bunko's new work continues the romantic comedy. This is a romantic comedy with a slightly unique setting where 6 schoolboys and girls live together in a shared house. With the rule that romance is prohibited in the shared house, it seems like it will be a lively romantic comedy with all sorts of arrows flying around. ReZero Starting Life in Another World Short Story Collection Volume 11. The latest volume of the short story collection will be released in conjunction with the broadcast of the anime. Together with the latest volume of the main story, it will be 2 consecutive months of broadcasts. This collection of short stories, looks like it will be a past episode leading up to the floodgate of Pristella, which is also the setting of the anime. There's also a collection of episodes of the web novel, so fans who read it there is also a must-see. Above is a lineup of new books from MF Bunko J. Next is the novel lineup on MF Books. I'll be recommending 2 new titles. The Forgotten Lady Wants to Live Freely Volume 1, a relaxed single-person fantasy story. She enjoys a carefree life in a slightly unusual mansion, so it seems like it'll be a work that gives you a sense of slow life. When I took a medical checkup for the first time in a while, I found out that my status was the strongest. An exile or adventurer now aims to become a hero, Volume 2. The volume this time, the old man and his friends receive a letter from the Demon King. The letter describes the reconciliation between humans and demons, and he and his friends work together to ensure the coexistence of the 2 races. This is the second installment of the accelerating adventure story of a late-blooming and strongest 30-something. From Overlap Bunko, Nolan Life in Another World, Volume 15. This is the latest volume of the adventure fantasy, which has all the students came to another world. This anime has started early October, so a new volume has been released to coincide with it. The protagonist's quirks are quite strong, but after being made into a comic and anime, it seems to have become much milder. I'm curious to know what the anime fans think about it, so I'd like to hear their thoughts on that. It'll be interesting to see if the anime has an effect on increasing the sales of the original work. I'm the Evil Lord of an Intergalactic Empire, Volume 9. This is a title to watch for. The protagonist, who has been too old and has turned his life upside down, is reincarnated as an evil lord in another world. This is the latest volume of a fantasy that is set in the outer space, and the worldview is like that of a space opera, and the way the protagonist's actions are misunderstood by those around him is an interesting series. This work has finally been decided to be made into an anime. The original volume has now been released up to 8 volumes, and the cumulative total of the series has exceeded over 900,000 copies. The anime will be broadcast in April 2025, and PV has also been released. Along with the announcement of the TV anime, the main character, Liam Serap Banfield, will be played by Natsuki Hanae. The role of Amagi the maid will be played by Rena Ueda, and the guide will be played by Takehito Koyasu. But the voice actress for Liam's ex-wife hasn't been revealed yet. The downside overall, it looks like the animation is not that great from the PV itself, but I wonder if it will be confusing. The anime cost is also extremely high, so that will be a big problem. Also, the robots are CG, but I think they will handle that as well. The original is definitely an interesting series, so I hope that they can somehow make it into an interesting anime. If you're an anime fan and are interested, please take this opportunity to read the original work. Tobacco's situation in the world of Chastity Reversal Part 1. Is this the weight of love proportional to Ta? It has a title that with a slightly strange combination that makes me curious. It seems that this work is a university student love comedy set in a world where the gender gap is biased towards women and the low-class relationship has been reversed. It seems that cigarettes will become a key item for communication. When I started living with an old male friend, he turned out to be a beautiful girl. The sense of distance was still the same as before, and we were too close. Volume 2, a youthful love comedy spun under the same roof with a former male friend. This time, the beach trip is getting bigger as the girl hugged him in her swimsuit, and when they went to a hot spring on a family trip, she invited him to go into the open air bath together, and while they were living under the same roof, certain feelings began to grow between them. The strongest in the supernatural school lurks in peace, Volume 4. This is a school supernatural superpower tale where an academy is the only educational institution that can bestow supernatural powers on people. The volume this time had the protagonist challenged to a fight the strongest man in close combat. Other titles include God's Alice Volume 3, The Saint of Black Kite, The Banished Healer Masters Dark Magic with Abundant Magical Powers Volume 7. These novel titles are very interesting, so do order them when they are on sale soon. Next is the lineup of X Bunko, when two people who were hurting in their hearts started comforting each other. They were recognized as a lovey-dovey couple with Snow White, the most beautiful girl in school. This is a new pure love story. The protagonist was dumped by his childhood friend, and the heroine was hurt by the cruel words that she was told by those around her. The story follows Takahashi. Takashi mustered up the courage to confess his feelings to a childhood friend, warm like an older sister but rejected. Unable to go home due to broken heart, he went to the rooftop and saw Shirayuki Himeno, the most beautiful girl in school, nicknamed Snow White. And at that moment, things getting clinky as Takashi was drawn between the childhood friend and his new female friend while being held as couples. It seems to be a rare story where two people who have been hurt in their hearts meet and get closer. In any case, the heroine of high school students tend to have a bad reputation for her ice tribute, but I'm a little concerned about that. Tokyo Level 99, returning hero from another world versus Tokyo's strongest girl. It seems to be a modern battle story about a high school boy who has returned from another world and a magical girl heroine who take part in a supernatural battle that takes place on the other side of Tokyo. It is a new world that I'm a bit interested in. Other novel titles include A Secret Relationship with the Tsundere Goddess That No One Can Know About Volume 2, and The Case Where the Most Beautiful Girl in School and I Were Cheering for the Love of Our Best Friends, and before I knew it, she was closer to me than anyone else Volume 2. These titles are both romantic and wholesome, so romance reader fans should pick this up if interested. Next, from Famitsu Bunko, Predator Magical Girl Volume 2. This work involves magic and modern military war drawn into it. The volume this time had the witches fight against each other while bringing the armies from across the country to help them. A weakling who has died a million times. It is a new fantasy story about a protagonist who can respawn in a different body no matter how many times he dies, and goes on an adventure at the risk of his life. The protagonist seems to be a small fish in terms of his abilities, but he desperately tries to become an adventurer, and it seems to be a hot story. It's a pretty interesting new work. Fantasy Galaxy, Why There Are Goblins and Orcs in Space, a new space fantasy that begins with the protagonist being abducted by aliens and are arriving at a galactic civilization at the edge of the universe. The protagonist is now a 55-year-old man, and it seems that the story will unfold in a spectacular way as he rescues beautiful girls and defeats giant beasts. It's a work with a pretty edgy setting, and I'm a bit interested in this one too. That was the lineup for Famitsu Bunko. And finally is the lineup of Hero Bunko to be released on October 1st. The titles are World Order Volume 8. If you get tired of the otherworldly debauchery Volume 7, The Demon King's Executioner Volume 3, and 3 other works will be released. All of them are big series titles, but none of them had a new story for over a year. I'm a bit worried about the unstable pace of sales for Hero Bunko. So this time, I have unveiled out all the light novels that will be released in late October. This time, a complete series was released, but there was also a new and unique series being released as well. It was a lineup that really gave the feeling of the next generation. If you have any light novels that interest you, please let me know in the comment section. I'll be introducing new books again next week, so please take this opportunity to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.